How do you race prep a bike for a national hare and hound? That's what we're here to do today, guys, on the Fantic. This thing has been awesome and it's held up really well. I've had no real problems with it, but it is time to go through it and do some serious race prep because we are headed to the National Hare and Hound out in Lucerne Valley this coming weekend. My son Thomas is going to race this thing. He's real fast. He beats on things really hard. So we got to make sure we're going to have this thing super dialed in. So join me for this video. We're just going to go through all the things we're going to do to get this thing ready to go race. All right, guys, first things first, we're going to wash this bike. I know a lot of you guys love giving me a hard time about how dirty my bikes are. Yes, I do wash them every now and then. I try not to overwash them because actually you blow grease out and all kinds of stuff. But for race prep, we're going to wash this thing so we can get in there tight and make sure everything is all good. So she's pretty dirty right now. I'm gonna set you guys down, blast this thing off. It's cold as crap out here right now, so this isn't gonna be a crazy in-depth wash. We're just gonna get her nice and clean. Whew, it's frozen. I'm gonna let it run in here for a little bit, then we'll go back out. All right, guys, so I was going to go first things first and actually wash this thing, but it is so cold outside that actually my hose is frozen that's inside. This shop is not all that well insulated, especially down there. There's some holes in the wall where the hose runs. So I have cranked the heat up as far as I can in here. I've unhooked the hose and we're hoping, and it's on over there. We're hoping that it's gonna eventually trickle through and melt that stuff. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Hopefully we get it washed, but that's okay actually, because I kind of forgot what I really need to do before I wash it is drain the oil, because I don't want to pull the skid plate off. These SXS skid plates are really, really, really good. Super good coverage, very, very strong, but they're kind of a pain in the butt to get on and off, if I'm honest. So and he's got a hole in there for the oil to drain out, but inevitably a little bit's going to get places. So no big deal. I'm going to drain that oil, refill that oil. We're going to check the air filter, do a bunch of other stuff real fast before we get to really cleaning this thing, because we've got a little bit of work to do up here. I broke some things. So we're going to have to shore that up for the race. I got new parts coming. Actually, that's a good thing too. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I've ordered parts for it from Europe, and we're going to find out how long it takes to get here. I ordered them on Saturday, I think it was. So yeah, we'll find out. Anyway, when you're race prepping a bike, I always like to start with just the basic maintenance. So let's do some oil and air filter stuff. All right, one really nice thing about this being just a YZ basis of a motor is that I know the size of everything. It's a 12 millimeter socket to get the drain bolt out. And it's been about probably, let's see, I'm not sure how many hours. Let's find out how many hours since we did the first oil change. The first oil change came when I broke the clutch cover. So I had to obviously take that off, drain all the oil. But I also added something I want to show you guys. So it's got a meter on it that runs based on the engine running, not just wheel spin. But I added one of these guys, which I really like. There we go. So we got 14 hours total, I believe. Let's take a look. Let me show you something cool. So that is a get hour meter, and the cool thing is it hooks to your phone via a Bluetooth, which I think is really cool. So we've got Bella active. There we go. So it's actually 6.14 hours since I installed that, and that's about when I did the clutch cover. So it's got about 6 hours on that oil. The other oil had probably about the same. So I'm not sure what the total hours. I'm going with this as total hours now. just because it's easy. But this is cool, guys. You can set alarms to tell you when to do engine oil and filter and all that good stuff. And so right here you can see it says replace. It's got 9 hours, 9.46 hours still, because I set it at 16 hours. Let's go. Actually, let's change it. I want to do 15 hours. Confirm. So now it's going to reset. Now it's at 15 hours from this moment. So that's what I like. Anyway, sets us back to 15 hours. So we'll do the air filter the same way. So pretty cool. You guys can, I like them a lot. You can reset it. You can get that stuff from Intech USA. You can call me. I can get you one too. Or email me, morgan@highland-cycles.com. So anyway, get back to changing the oil. And then I'll show you the air filter. I actually just did it. I don't even think I haven't even ridden it since I did it. So should be all good. There we go. Shiny, perfect air filter. Also, again, massive shout out to the Tusk air filter oil. That stuff is amazing how sticky that is. It's really, really good. All right, get a lot of questions on what I run for transmission oil. Always Bellray Gear Saver. I've got a whole video on as to why I will always use this, but trust me, it's the best I've ever used. I love it. So, and no, that is not what's making the clutch grabby. It is the fact that it's a YZ clutch and they're cheap. All right, guys, next things next. One of the big things about racing is that you're going to be a little harder on things than probably you would normally, because you're going to be pushing really, really hard and you're not going to be paying attention while you ride. So if something starts to happen, you're not going to know because you're just going to be pinned. So you want to make sure that everything on your bike is tight and not going to come loose. Now, it's funny, I had a little pushback on this during the build on this one or something else. I was putting thread locker on something, and some guy's like, "Oh, way to go! It's amateur. You're putting thread lock. You should just check it before every ride." I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my entire life. It's up there. I mean, I've heard some pretty dumb stuff, but that is pretty far up there as far as calling that stupid to put thread locker on things. Yeah, whatever. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go around this motorcycle and I'm going to put thread locker on everything that needs thread locker. Now, what that doesn't include is pinch bolts, for instance. Those are under tension because it's kind of a spring when you tighten those down, and you've got a certain amount of torque you put on that. 12 foot-pounds down here, and I do like 18 foot-pounds up here. But those are spring-loaded because just the nature of a pinch bolt like that. Same with forks, the pinch bolts on the forks. They're a pinch bolt, they're spring-loaded, so they're not going to come loose as long as they've got the right torque on them. So those are fine, but what I am going to do, because I honestly can't remember if I did, is I'm going to go around and put thread locker on these bolts, subframe bolts, this subframe bolt, probably the kickstand bolt. I don't think I'm going to mess with these. I've never ever had these come loose. I'll probably check that one and check that one and make sure they're good, but I don't think I'm going to go around and put thread locker on those. Now, these are the ones that got yelled at for putting thread locker, but I am going to go around and touch these because the nature of, again, a race bike and something that gets beat on, if that fails, you've got a serious catastrophic failure on your hand. Also, I believe this, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but this is steel. This is tool steel. That's why they last so long. And the bolts are steel, but the hub is aluminum, and so you can actually squish aluminum. When you tighten it down, it can actually squish. And if you squish it and you don't have thread locker on there or whatever, you don't check it every now and then, these can actually start to get loose. And if that comes loose, you're in trouble. We're going to go ahead and hit our chain adjuster bolts. I just had these off, so I know those are good and thread locked. We're going to go around. We're actually putting new tires on this thing, so I'm not going to worry about the axle because I'm going to pull that off. But we're going to hit thread locker here, thread locker here. Again, like I said, that bolt, that goes all the way through. Definitely going to check this. YZs are notorious for that happening, it coming loose. So I'm going to pull this, get some good thread locker on there, and really tighten that down. Oh, and someone was asking me if I'd taken this thing apart to make sure everything is greased. I have not yet, but this is why. Look at all the grease that was in there. There's actually grease in everything, like coming out of all the joints. Like there's grease here, so I don't need to take it apart to see that, yeah, they actually greased it. It's a small company. I bet they do a way better job than some of the big companies. Stuff that doesn't need thread locker, but I will be checking our bolts on perches, bolts on switches, bolts on hand guards, these bolts. Pretty much just every nut and bolt is going to get a wrench on it because we don't want these things coming loose during a race, and it's an easy preventative maintenance to do. So yeah, I'm just going to get after them. I set the camera down. You guys can we'll time lapse it or whatever, but yeah, we'll get to that, and then we'll go to what tires we're going to run. And again, real sorry it's not clean, but that hose is still not started flowing yet. We'll be using our favorite stuck nuts, red thread locker on everything. All right, guys, so got most of the chassis stuff. I just wanted to show you something. So I am definitely going to do these pipe mounts, and this guy right here is notorious for coming loose on YZs. I'm not probably going to do this because you take that off and on enough when you're taking the pipes on and off, but these are always coming loose. So gonna make sure we hit that one, gonna make sure we hit that one because that usually comes loose too against the vibration of the motor. So yeah, and don't get after me, you didn't have a counterbalance. My KTM come loose too, so there's definitely some vibration no matter what. All right, let's keep after it. There's no thread locker from the factory. Never has been on a YZ either, so it's not like they forgot. It's just the nature of these bikes, they just don't do it. And that nut that it goes into is like a riv nut kind of thing, and they are notorious for that coming loose and then rattling around and ruining that part of the frame. And everything's fine, you can still use it, but anyway, it's a pain. So better to red thread lock that thing than not. All right, so now pretty much hit everything with thread locker that I want. Now I'm going to go around and just touch all the nuts and bolts on here, make sure everything's tight. Then we're going to take the wheels off and put some new tires on. Guys, quick little tech tip. So right here, you've got your G-rip bar in here, and you can see I've got some room. Even when this is all the way out, you can still see a little bit of a gap, and that is on purpose. This whole thing is inboard just enough that no matter how hard I hit that, no matter freaking just slam that thing, it will not bind up the throttle. Quick little tech tip there for you guys, because I see people screw that up all the time. Guys, another thing that honestly not enough people do is check your coolant. Make sure there's plenty in there. This thing's been doing great, by the way. It has a 1.2 bar cap, which is not that super stiff. Most KTMs are like 1.8, but I beat on this thing real hard down in Arizona, and got it really hot, got the fan on a lot actually, and it never even tried to boil over, so super happy about that. And I think with the fan, you probably just don't need a super high pressure radiator cap as long as the fan is keeping up with the heat that's in the bike. So right on, got everything tightened up here. All this feels good. One thing I love about the R Enduro, both this and this, is that you don't have to go crazy tight here, but you can go really tight here, and that'll lock it in. And then if you need to move it, you just back out that or back out that, and then you can rotate the thing just a little bit. So yeah, super happy about that. Got all of the hand guards tight. Everything feels really tight. Pipe is on good. Thread locker everywhere that we need it. So yeah, feeling really good about that. Now let's yank these wheels off and talk about what tires we're gonna go with, and then also I want to talk about the gearing we're going to be running. Time to swap out rear tire. This one's pretty hammered, and we're actually going back with one of these. This is a Tusk Talon. I really like this thing. It actually works pretty freaking good in the soft stuff. And the first lap of that race that we're heading to has got a lot of soft sand, and then obviously some hard rock and stuff like that too. So I'm a big fan of the Talon. It wears out relatively fast if you're hammering on it, but the grip is really, really good. So we're going to go with a brand new one of those. Massive thank you to Rocky Mountain ATV, MC, biggest sponsor of this channel, guys. Make sure you use the link in our description if you're shopping with them, but please make sure you shop local first. If you have a local shop like me, or even a dealership that you really like, make sure you buy some stuff from them, guys. They might not have Tusk tires, so you might have to do that from Rocky Mountain, but if you want to try them. But you got to keep those guys employed, keep them making money, because that's how this whole sport even works. So yeah, let's get this sucker changed. We got moose balls in there, by the way. Huge shout out to Mr. Wolf Moose Balls. Best foam inserts I've ever used. All right, guys, you've seen me do this a million times. I'm just going to turn the camera off. I'm going to swap these moose balls over, get this thing mounted back up, and then we're going to go through, and while the wheel's off, we're going to check torque on all of our sprocket bolts. We'll just quick touch the brake rotor bolts, although I've never had those problems, and they always have thread locker on them. The bolts I use are, they come with the dried thread locker on them, so those are tight, I'm sure, but we'll just touch them real quick to make sure. And then we're going to go around and hit all the spokes, because I have not yet messed with the spokes on these wheels. All right, guys, got the wheel all prepped, ready to go. Bolts are tight, everything, that's good. So now we're going to be changing the gearing. I went to a 1349 for my gearing. It came 1450. We're going back to a 14 front sprocket. Going to leave the 49 on there. Honestly, for this race, I'd probably go to a 48 or a 47 for my kid, because like I said, he's fast, and the first loop is fast. And being that this is just a 5-speed, it would, it'd be nice to have a little more oomph there, but it doesn't, so that's okay, no big deal. We are going to, like I said, make it as fast as we can without spending a whole bunch of money on another rear sprocket. So yeah, no big deal on this bike, guys. I'll take these two off, get that out of the way. There's one back there too. And then I've found it's easiest to just pull the slave cylinder, let it hang. We'll replace that thing just like any other YZ. We got a lock washer, going to pop that down, spin that loose, put this in gear, use the impact to spin it loose, put the 14 back on above it, and then we're going to have to adjust our chain adjusters to get that dialed in. The other thing I'm doing is I am putting these Tusk carbon brake pads on, because these guys from Nissan are very, very good, but my guess is they are the metallic or sintered metal, or I don't know. Anyway, they're grabby. Like if you just barely touch them, man, they lock up. And being a YZ, you don't have a ton of feel, because I can't add that like cool little elastomer thing like I can on the KTM. So what we're going to do is dumb down the actual squeezing power or the friction on the rotor. So we're going to put those suckers on there, hopefully make that just a little bit less touchy, and then we'll move to the front. Since I know we're going to have to do it, I'm just going to loosen these. I'm also going to take a little bit of lube right now, some penetrating lube, and spray it down in here to protect against these corroding together and becoming basically impossible. Sweet, right on. Got the back side of this bike ready to rock. Really happy with how everything's turning out. We are waiting on a spark arrestor for this, so hopefully that shows up this week. If not, I do have an FMF turbine core that I think I can make work on this. It was kind of a pain. It didn't work on the stock pipe, but I think it just could be I don't know, just the tiniest bit off on the stock pipe where the stinger and the pipe meet. But anyway, want to run this short little Oxa because it's awesome. And I've got a Fishmoto screen style spark arrestor. And I'll show you something pretty cool. So make sure you stay tuned. I'll show you that thing up close. I don't like screen style spark arrestors in general, but this one's probably pretty cool. Anyway, I'll show you. It's going to be pretty cool. So, yeah, hopefully that will be here soon. So now, let's drop this thing down. Actually, let's lube this chain up while it's up here. Lube that chain up. Oh, and got to hit the spokes. I forgot. We did not do the spokes because it's much easier to do when it's on the bike. It's easier to spin around and whatever. So we're going to tighten those spokes up. Going to hit our chain adjusters. Make sure those are nice and tight. Then we'll spin this thing around and go to the front. All right, guys, time to take the front wheel off. We're going to go with another Tusk Talon on that. And this one's actually in pretty darn good shape. But since the kid's racing his first National Hare and Hound, we're putting fresh, sharp tires on it. And it is missing a couple knobs. Havasu stuff is brutal on that. It's super sharp rocks. So nothing special here. We're going to take this thing off. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do to remedy our current this situation to get through this race. But like I said, we have a new mask on the way and a couple other new things that should hopefully help us to deal with that. So yeah, anyway, gonna take the wheel off. I'm not going to bring you into that. It's just changing another tire. But if I find anything obvious that I need to mention, I'll bring you back in. Otherwise, next thing we'll be taking care of that headlight mask. All right, guys, so now working on the headlight. So I tidied this up a little bit more. I had put some more zip ties in here. You got that nice and dialed in. Now what I'm going to do is this nub is sitting there. That's going to sit like this. And definitely going to thread lock this because I think what might have happened, this one was kind of starting to come loose. And then this one over here was actually missing during the ride. And I think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think could have gotten loose and let it jerk and bounce because I don't see any super big hits. I mean, there's a couple things here, but I don't remember, I guess that big one, I don't remember just smacking the front of it really, really hard, so I'm not sure. But we're gonna, we're also going to use some zip ties. Here we go. Right here where I put the wire tie while I was out there, because I was out of zip ties in my pack, so put some more zip ties in my pack. And then when this sits like that, I'm gonna drill 2 holes here and put a zip tie through that to really hold that down tight so this can't flap up. Not too worried about it. I mean, it's just a headlight, but what I don't want it to do is cause my kid a distraction. That's the big problem there. So yeah, let's get to it. There we go. Now, super tough. Not going to come loose unless he has a big get off, which if that happens, we got other problems. All right, real happy with that. Guys, I think we're getting to the end of it, man. Let's go over, oh, actually, one thing that I do, but I forget to mention a lot, is this. Got the Z-Max lube. I don't make any money on this, but I do highly recommend it. Yeah, made in the US. Z-Max is a company. I'm not really sure where they are. I just order them. I call them up and order this stuff. I got this and their chain lube. That's really good. And I'm actually trying now the Tusk chain lube. Haven't had enough time with it yet to report back to you guys. And of course I should say, oh, it's great, just buy it. But I don't know. I don't know yet. It's been winter. But I like to go around and hit all the pivot points. Make sure we're all good. Of course, this one has grease on it, but I'm telling you, that is always coming loose. So make sure you thread lock the crap out of that. Then I even hit this little spot. Get that. Kickstand doesn't matter that much during a race, but might as well. We're gonna, there. And one last thing I forgot to mention, and I have not done yet, but I'm going to do right now, because Yamahas are freaking notorious for this shifter coming loose. Now this is brand new, it's probably not going to be a problem, but it is always a problem. Comment below if you've had that problem with your YZ. It's a thing. I do like the KTMs where the bolt goes in from outside, but that has its own struggles. But if you Loctite those and you do a pretty good job, it seems to really hold up. These, pain in the butt. So I'm going to take this sucker out, clean it up really good. I'm going to red thread lock it and put it back on, because that is just something that always comes loose. I don't know if you watched the, I think it was in the last Weeby video where we raced Monte Vista. I actually did that for my kid on the start line. I had to take care of that. So anyway, I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll go over everything we did and shut this thing down. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, we are all done with this project. We are race prepped. Now, the one thing we haven't done is get it clean, and that's because my hose is still frozen over there. Whatever. So it will get clean. It will be pretty before we go to the start line. But I'm excited, guys. Let's go over everything that we did to race prep this machine. So first and foremost, oil change, air filter change. Air filter was already done, but clean air filter, rim grease, ready to rock and roll. We also have a spare air filter in a Ziploc bag in the van, already ready to go for this thing, so that if he needs to swap during the race, or we're probably actually going to get a little bit of riding done before the race, the day before the race, so probably put a fresh one in before that. I went around and I absolutely triple checked every nut and bolt on this thing that matters. Now, I didn't hit all the plastic bolts. I guess I could, but I reached around, touched them like that. They're not loose, but we made sure we got torque on all the fork bolts. I did pull this back and put a wrench on here to make sure we were torqued to spec. I think this, I lied. I didn't torque it to spec. I don't know what spec is. I made sure it was nice and tight. But I do need to take the steering head apart, but you can see this remnant here, that's grease. The thing is very well greased. You can see grease everywhere. Subframe bolts, all thread locked with stuck nuts, but even this top one up here, I did not thread lock the suspension bolts, but I did touch them each. They have locking nuts on them, so shouldn't need that. Big thing here, guys, on a YZ is make sure you pull this bolt, put a bunch of red thread lock on that, put it back in. That will help it hopefully not come loose. But it does have a cotter pin on the back. That's why it has a cotter pin, because they do tend to come loose. Now we had both wheels off to do new tires, and new tires is a race prep for me. But while doing that, we made sure that we have our axle nuts nice and tight and correct. We got our chain adjuster bolts and nuts nice and tight. I went ahead and put brand new brake pads here on the back. Thread locked this bolt that goes in here with just blue on that. I did not do the red. I just want to make sure that comes loose. And actually this cover, I put a little anti-seize on that so that will come back out, because that's a nightmare. So like I said, we got our chain adjusted. We got chain lubed, ready to rock and roll. We're using the Tusk chain lube. I went ahead and touched each of the bolts on both the foot peg mounts to make sure they're nice and tight. I didn't take them out and thread lock them, but they're good. Thread lock the bolt, the pinch bolt on the shifter to make sure that doesn't come loose. We put a 14 tooth front sprocket on it. We checked the coolant. It's perfect all the way to the top, no problems. We got this headlight mast nice and tight, so it's not going to move around on him. He's not going to have we're not having custom graphics done by this. We are getting them done though. Stay tuned. That's actually going to be cool. I'm going to shoot a video of us going down and actually meeting the guy that's doing it. He's in Durango, so pretty excited about that. I made sure all of the bolts on all of the controls were tight and good, so that is not going to come loose or move around on my kid. I found one of these bolts was loose. It was over on the other side. Got that tightened down. Tightened all the pinch bolts. I did not thread lock those because I think I mentioned that before. It's spring loaded as a pinch bolt, and so it's really hard for those to come loose if you get them nice and tight. Oh, I did go around and touch all of the bolts on the Mako 360 because I installed that. I torqued them to 12 foot-pounds, but I have had a couple times where they kind of loosen up after the first few rides. These things just break in and move a little bit, and so I went ahead and hit those. They were actually fine, but I hit them, got them good. I reset my hour meter for zeros, so we're reset now to 15 hours on the oil. I put like 6 hours on the air filter, but that's not just every ride on the air filter. I just had to put a number in there. See, pivot, I hit all the pivot points with Z-Max Lube. So foot pegs, brake, shifter, flippy guy. I went ahead and hit these guys. They're still dirty, but I pulled these back. Got some lube in there, got some lube over there. I lubed up the R Enduro again, actually. Didn't show you that, but I made sure that's nice and lubed up. I'm happy, because that needs to be done every now and then, especially when you wash it. Which, again, I will be doing. Let's see, that's about it. I know for a fact that everything on this thing is tip-top, tight, ready to go. Tighten down the silencer bolts. If you've been watching this channel long enough, you'll know that maybe I don't always do that, or haven't always done that. Yeah, you can go find that video somewhere. It's pretty exciting. Yeah, guys, I think that's it. I guess the last thing we gotta do is make sure she starts. All good there. I'm excited to get this thing to Lucerne, get my kid on it, because he's faster than I am, faster than I ever will be, probably, or have been, I should say. Definitely faster than I will be, because he's just young and getting stronger, and I'm old and getting weaker, but not actually true. Oh, by the way, make sure you subscribe too if you are interested in hearing the debrief of my 7-day fast and how I feel about that, what it did for me, and all that good stuff. That's coming here soon. I'll be filming that soon. Anyway, yeah, guys, things race prepped. Oh, I think, I don't know if I mentioned all this, but I put thread locker on these bolts. I put thread locker on everything that needs thread locker, pipe mounts, all that stuff. Stuff that's not like spring loaded is all thread lock now with red thread locker, except for that pin in the back for the brake pin. That's blue. Everything else is red. Oil's changed. Air filter's good. Keep repeating myself, but I'm excited, guys. We're going to go racing. That is how I race prep a motorcycle. Now, if the bike had more hours on it and time on it, we would also be servicing the suspension before a race. But because I already just did these XR kits and had them apart and put new oil there, no reason to do that on the front. And then the back only has 11 hours. There's no reason to take that thing apart. Also, I will be valving that after we get back from this race and getting it all super sexy to kind of match up with the XR kit. But right now I'm leaving it alone because the springs are balanced right now. And my kid is actually a little bit lighter than me. I don't know, I'm pretty light these days. But he's around 175, 180, so it's close enough for spring rate. And I didn't want to valve this. We are changing the rear spring rate just a little bit for the kind of riding we're doing and the weight. But I didn't want to change that and have it out of balance with the front. So we'll be doing the front too. Anyway, guys, there you go. Bike is race prepped. The last thing we got to do is fill it up with gas once we get it to California. Top off the little oil reservoir and go racing. I'm excited. It's going to be awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully that answers some questions if you've ever thought about that. Also, comment below, what did I miss? Comment below, what did you miss the last time that we just did? So anyway, I love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.